Oh, hello, and welcome to another episode of Meet Me at Crafty, the podcast, now with video. I am joined today by friend of Crafty, Whitney Anne Adams, who I spoke to earlier this year for her work on the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. Is that the right name of the movie? Did I
Yes,
get it right?
that's a mouthful of a title. Yeah, this is the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. Yes.
I actually don't think I've said the entire title aloud since we spoke.
I
I've
know,
said,
I
oh, the
just call it the
Supremes.
Supremes. It's much easier that way.
And already, like this is the intro is already derailed.
Yeah,
This, you know what? We begin as we intend to continue, and here we are. This is what
yes,
Crafty is. This is actually a fairly accurate representation of standing around craft services at a
yes,
certain point of the day.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Just a little manic, a little frazzled. Um. Anyway, honey, Whitney Anne Adams is here to talk about her costume designs for Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which I saw over the weekend.
Awesome.
I was the only one in the movie theater.
Yes.
It made it
Everyone went the first weekend.
it made it so much creepier to watch this movie about like animatronics just suddenly like lurching into life behind you alone. And I kept looking over my shoulder. Oh, it was horrible. I mean, delightful, but horrible.
I know.
It really like knocked it up a whole another level.
I bet.
But you did the costumes for this, and you did not do the first Five Nights at
Right.
Freddy's. And so I'm curious and it's based on a video game. So
Mhm.
already you have a lot of parameters around what your work is going to entail. Was that a relief in some way, or was it a little more daunting, or was it just a fun challenge?
I think it's a mixture of all of those. Definitely daunting because you have this really strong fan base and you really wanted to make sure that, you don't want to do fan service. You want to do what's right for the story, but you also know that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be dissecting your work. And so you want it to make sure it's on point. And I didn't know anything about the games before I got this job. So, I watched the first movie many, many, many times. I went down the YouTube rabbit hole. I went on Reddit. I went literally everywhere on the internet. I got every cosplay video that I could find and photo and collected those in a giant database because it was my inspiration for the FazFest scene, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But it was like really digging into the whole world and immersing myself in it. I didn't go so far to play the game because I'm a bit too much of a scaredy cat, even though I love horror movies and I design a lot of horror. I still that was a bridge too far for me.
I was gonna say you do all horror movies.
I know, I know. But I was like, you know what? That jump scare thing is definitely the part that trips me up, that gets me. And this is actually the second time I've taken over the second movie of a franchise. I did Happy Death Day to You as well. And so, walking in with establishing characters, luckily I've had that experience before. So the great thing was to take what Natalie O'Brien did in the first movie for Five Nights at Freddy's and then, extrapolate on that and build these characters up even more from there and tell their next chapter, which was super fun.
Well, it's something really. It must have been a relief too, because the where we meet Josh Hutcherson and why am I Elizabeth Lail?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when we meet them, they're so far removed from where they were in the first movie.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're not locked into those same looks. They're also extremely traumatized.
So traumatized. And, Abby's gotten older. And so she's in middle school now. She's trying to figure out who she is as a girl. And Elizabeth, we only saw her really in her police uniform in the first movie. So we get to see who she is in plain clothes. And, Mike is growing as a person, trying to get it together. He's got a new house. He's got a new job. He's trying to be that adult figure in Abby's life. So everyone's gone through monumental change and is continually going through monumental change.
Well, and the delightful thing about the second movie is not only do we have Matthew Lillard back as the monstrous serial killer,
Yes.
who I don't know if you did it on purpose just to fuck with the poor gay men like me. I found myself so oddly attracted to Matthew Lillard and his little work clothes, like that chunky belt and the tucked in shirt. I was like, what are
There's
you
nothing
doing
like
to me?
a nice high-waisted jean, especially because this scene, it's in her dream, but it's the, William dad of her youth in the late 70s, early 80s. And so there's nothing like a good high-waisted pant. That should be the norm, but I don't know why it still isn't.
Because some of us have very, very tiny torsos and very
I
long
mean,
legs.
myself included, but I still rock it anyway.
But I mean, now I'm thrown off track.
Yes.
Surprise! But I wanted to go back very quickly because you said it's her father from her childhood in the '70s, and another wrinkle for you in navigating the costumes for the second movie. It's set in the early 2000s,
Yes. Oh my God.
so
And
it's
what
also a period
a
drama.
time for clothes. 2003 or 2002 is quite a time.
And that's a really hard era to get right without dipping into satire because it
Yes.
looked like satire even at the time.
Exactly. And, I lucked out that I was in high school in 2002. And so I pulled out all my old yearbooks. And, this was a middle school, so a little bit younger kids, but essentially the same stuff. A lot of Abby's design boards were me in middle school. So I just pulled my own outfits because it fit her vibe. And so it was so fun to just have built-in research on my bookshelf already. I mean, I did so much more than that, but it was I know the time so well because it was my heyday, so that was helpful.
I mean, but to go back to what we were discussing, I mean, Matthew Lillard is there looking incredible as a psychotic child killer. I think he looks incredible despite that, not because of it, although it could be a who can say.
Who can say?
But then you also have Skeet Ulrich. You got to work with both of them, and his outfit too. I saw you posted on Instagram that it was not a reference to his character in Scream.
It was
just
not.
coincidence.
It was absolutely coincidental. Maybe it was subconscious because Scream is my favorite horror movie. I dressed as Ghostface for 3 years in middle school. Like, Scream is my favorite. And so getting to design the first movie that they're both in together since Scream was definitely very special for me. And they're both such lovely guys, and getting to work with them and figure out who their characters are. They both care so much about this universe and these characters. And so, Skeet and I hopped on the phone. We talked for like an hour about who Henry is and all the different directions that we could go. And I shopped for him over our holiday break. So I had that conversation with him and was able to sort of gather all these amazing vintage pieces and start to build our movie, Henry. So it was definitely such a collaborative, beautiful experience.
One of the really cool things about having been working on Crafty for as long as I have now, not quite a year, is getting just really well versed in everyone's social media presence.
Yes.
And yours is so, every time you have a release, I'm obsessed with all of the posts that you do and the details. And it's such a strange quirk of movie making, but watches and glasses are props.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Which is so weird. I mean, yeah, I guess because you're like moving things around, but they're so like accessory, like watches are props, funny? but not necklaces.
I call them, they're definitely props, but there's other crossover things I call them propstooms. They're kind of both things. So they're a prop and a costume together. Like purses, I think a lot of background purses, those are mostly props. But if it's a principal character that sort of coordinates with an outfit, I take it over. Backpacks are props, but again, we talk about it. So we have all these overlaps. So there's always a huge amount of propstooms on everything. But glasses, rings, like wedding bands, and watches are all props. And they have
rings too. That's crazy.
Wedding rings, but any fashion rings, that's me. Yeah, yes, I know.
You know what? We don't even have time to begin to try to figure that one out. We're just going to accept it as a fact.
Yeah, and move on.
We're going to move on.
Yeah.
But I saw on your Instagram that that was his idea for that very analog watch.
Yes, I love
calculator watch.
Yeah, we were talking about that. He's like, I think it's a calculator. He's all about practicality. Henry is a inventor, a worker. So we were really in the workwear zone, and everything he wears has a purpose, and it's nothing about fashion or style. It's just what is functional, and so that's where that came from, which I really love.
Well, so I mean, you got to design him for to introduce him to audiences. And you also got to do the marionette.
Oh, so fun. So fun.
I cannot believe you could not play the game, but you were fine designing that fucking marionette. Like, that is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen.
Nightmare fuel. It is so scary. Especially, I was putting the sweater on Piper and she was in character and just maniacally laughing in my ear. I was like, Piper, you're so scary.
It's such a genius. I mean, one, it's one of those things where you look at it like the Annabelle doll and you're like, what child would ever be fascinated by this? And then I think about the shit that we grew up with, like Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, terrifying. Terrifying.
Or like My Betty.
Yes.
No.
No.
Never trusted Ginger with that many freckles.
No, just there's something wrong there. There's something wrong there.
But the way that they shot the marionette too was so just every single time that we see the marionette, it's terrifying in a different way. Whether it's like slowly rising up, holding the murdered girl in its arms, or anytime it's taking possession of someone and they're scuttling towards the camera right in your face. But I assume the marionette, like that design, is straight from the video game.
Mm-hmm.
So how much leeway did you have when you were kind of playing around with the costumes for the characters who ended up possessed?
Well, it initially, reading the script, I saw that the possession was going to happen, but I think I thought it would be all visual effects, or we didn't really know yet. So when I was designing, we started with Piper. She was the marionette first, and then we did Lisa after. And so I had to figure out what Piper was in the transition. So I thought, well, let me do a striped sweater. So at the very least, it sort of is foreshadowing that she's going to turn into the marionette, which, the two big things in the marionette are the stripes and the 3 buttons. So I focused on the stripes for her, and I chose visual effects, her outfit of what she's going to be in. And they came back to me with this amazing idea of the sweater turning into this like grayscale version of it. And so, but then that means I have to have 4 sweaters hand knit in less than a month. So, and then hand distress, and then you can't just rip knitted sweaters. So we had to be very particular about how we did the holes. So the whole sweater wouldn't unravel. And then also making it it was so much math in this to figure out proportionally how it looks like a sweater still and not a sweater dress, but it needs to cover Piper's whole torso in order for the legs, visual effects wise, to make sense. So it was like literally within a 1/4 inch to make it feel right. And then when they have the harness on, then the sweater rises up. And so you had to account for how much the sweater rose up when she's being lifted in the harness. It's like so many logistics to make it look correct and not weird.
And for maybe 5 minutes of screen time, maybe.
Yeah. Yes, we had our amazing specialty knitter Wendy, who lives in Savannah. She did all 4 in less than a month, and I don't know how she did it, and it was over like Thanksgiving time. It was really, really intense, and just trying to get all of that perfectly right. And one of them had to be proportionally correct for the puppet. So not, just Abby and Piper and her stunt doubles, but also had to be exactly correct for the really, really tall, skinny marionette puppet. And so I had to do fittings with the puppet, which was very cool to talk to the creature shop about, hey, can I do a fitting with the puppet?
Also, I mean, that's when they should have like done the voice, like it just really scared the shit out of you.
Exactly. There's just like a lot of logistics to get it perfectly right and picking the right colored, knit, and it was a lot, but really fun challenge.
I'm just picturing Wendy over Thanksgiving saying, "I'm sorry, family. Whitney Anne needs these sweaters for her monster movie. No one's going to have turkey this year."
She did take Thanksgiving off. I know. Thank goodness. I was like, I'm not a crazy person. Please be with your family, but also I need those sweaters.
But also not too much time with your family. Right. You will see them again. Yes. But I mean, that's such a. I'm so glad that you brought up the specialty knitwear, because it's something that goes undiscussed a lot when talking about costumes. It's so easy to focus on the concept work or the character detail, but it's less, I don't know, sexy, or maybe just requires too much explanation in most interviews. But we're crafty, so who cares?
Like, let's talk about that specialty stuff. And the same kind of thing happened with Lisa. I found I was able to design her kind of backwards, where I knew what the transition was going to be with the 3 buttons. So I was able to design Lisa's outfit to go around the transition. But then I found the perfect waffle knit. It was the wrong color. So my tailor was also acting as our ager dyer. So she had to dye a gajillion of these shirts, and then she had to cut them all up to make tiers to, again, proportionally, to make sure it looked like a tunic and not a dress on McKenna. and getting that dye color exactly right for, for 30 different shirts. It was crazy.
I mean, it's such a huge department.
Yeah.
Like
So
costume
much
departments are so huge and yet never big enough.
Never big enough. And that same week we were doing Lisa was FazFest week. So we were, and Henry. So that week was Lisa, Henry, and FazFest in 1 week. So, and it was like our first week back after the holiday breaks. It was insanity and just trying to get everything done. And meanwhile, we're, at 150 plus handmade cosplay costumes for FazFest while we're doing Lisa, my team was incredible. I could not have done it without every single one of them.
I mean, how do you even begin to scale something like FazFest, which is, 100 people dressed in varying degrees of well-executed cosplay outfits?
We started day one. So I had, amassed every single cosplay that people would post online. I had just a giant database and I printed everything out, put it up on walls. So as we were working on other stuff, we would start to make the costumes because it would take the whole time to make all of them. And so by the end, every single team member had jumped in and helped, make masks or paper mache or cardboard, this or that. But testament to our Taylor Grace, she did the vast majority of it. And, she just is pulling so many amazing things out of her brain using a lot of our stuff as reference. And then I would be like, okay, how about this? And we're going to do it this way. So it was just a total team effort to make it happen, but it was slowly being built the entire time.
I mean, do you bring a lot of your same team members from project to project, or is every project kind of a fresh slate?
It's kind of a mixture. I try to bring as many people as I can, but I travel for most of my job, so I'm always in different places. So this was luckily my third time in New Orleans, so I already had a good group of people, and then I added onto it. And I actually got one of my costumers, Eric. We first worked together 20 years ago at the La Jolla Playhouse tailor shop, and so we hadn't worked together in like 20 years. And so he was in New Orleans. I was coming to New Orleans. I was like, please be my costumer. And so that was so nice to reunite with him. And Taylor, my truck costumer, that was our second movie together. And it's just, trying to pull people as much as possible back into the fold. But my costume supervisor is my work wife. I've done 6 movies with her, so she comes with me everywhere.
Every time that you say something about your past career, now I know how other people feel when I talk about mine, because I'm like, La Jolla, what? And didn't you I'm absolutely going to get this wrong, but I feel like mine is going to be, we might need to make my version the actual version. Didn't you win like a contest that ended up with you flying to Australia to work on The Great Gatsby?
It's sort of. So I did win the costume design contest. It was part of the movie Australia, but I emailed Catherine Martin's website being like, hey, I won your contest. I love your work so much. And long story short, I met with their design assistant at their house in Australia. They weren't there. And then 2 years passed, and I saw that Baz was going to be the chairperson of the New York Musical Theater Festival in New York, and in 2010. So I bought a ticket to the gala, emailed the assistant, being like, hey, I happen to be going to the same gala that they're going to. Can I meet them? And then it turned into, hey, can you work for us for 3 weeks? And that turned on and off for 8 years. And that's how my first project with them was The Great Gatsby. It's like, you never know what an email will turn into.
Also, I was just saying to someone the other day, in 2026, can we all just make an effort to leave just like a heart emoji as a comment on Instagram posts, or just like things more? I'm such a passive scroller, and I see it and I'm like, oh, I like that, but I just keep going.
Right. It's like, let's the interact more and more community. I mean, I feel like empathy has really gone away in today's world. So community building is one of my favorite things. So the more that's why I started my podcast. That's why I just want to reach out to as many people as possible and build up the love and communal, spirit together.
And I just want to be famous. I just did a talk about, I was on a panel about the rise of new media. And one of the questions was, it's so important. These days, it seems like it's all very personality driven, and you have to have you are the selling point. And how do all of you feel about that? And the two very articulate, very wildly successful other panelists spoke very eloquently. And it came to me, I was like, oh, it's a terrible idea for me to pin all of my success on me. I am hugely problematic. It is just a matter of time before all of this blows up in my face. But I'm going to ride it out.
You're like, gonna ride that wave.
I'm going to see as far as I can get.
Yeah.
But I mean, what were you? So eventually you started working with Baz and Catherine on their projects. What were you in theater before that?
I moved to New York after college in San Diego. My job at the Lail Playhouse, I worked in the costume shop. I was like an assistant tailor to alterations, and then got a job at a costume shop in New York. And I worked on 30 Broadway shows, making costumes for Broadway. I also made Beyonce's world tour in 2009. So I did all of her alterations for all of the things she wore on her I Am Sasha Fierce tour. I was the assistant to Liza Minnelli's personal tailor in the shop. So I got to have a fitting with her and make her outfit for the Snickers commercial she was in, and got to do all sorts of amazing stuff. And that was the beginning of my career. Liza. Yeah, getting to
She's
be
always with me.
With her. And yeah, she did this Snickers commercial where she's like a diva and she's in this blue sparkly pantsuit that I helped make.
We will have to talk about your Broadway career, because I worked at Playbill for years.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. Yes. And New York, that like being a tailor taught me so much and has made me such an amazing, like so much of a better designer. And so I so appreciate having those skills. Also, my first few movies where I didn't have a team, it was just me. I did all my own alterations and building. So having that skill was really helpful.
Well, I'm starting to ask this more, especially on the podcast, where it's a little bit more career retrospective and just kind of like the nitty gritty of everything. Were you prepared when you became a department head for the budget conversations and the hiring process for the teams? Was there any training for that, or was it just like, oh, I'm in the deep end?
Yeah, you're kind of thrown in the deep end a little bit, but you learn by making mistakes, and then and also by doing things right. You're doing both at the same time, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because each one that I did, I learned better, and I did it better the next time. And like that's how we become better at what we do, right? Don't be afraid of failure. But yeah, it was definitely tough in the beginning. I'm luckily a huge paperwork queen. Like in another life, I probably would have been a stage manager, because I just love that paperwork side of things. So budgeting just made sense. And also I'm so hyper, like I need to come in on budget. It's definitely a huge part of what I do. I'm very like, no, I can't be over budget. I mean, so I do my best to get it right. But I build my budget with my supervisor, and then she takes it on. But because I help build it, I like have every price point in my head and what I need to hit. So it helps.
It's so, I mean, for me as well, like there's no training to manage a team. Like all of a sudden you get promoted to a point where now you're the boss. Yes. And you're like, oh, I only know what bad managers do because I've never had a good one. So I guess I'll do the opposite.
I had so many great managers and so many great bosses. I mean, working for Catherine Martin for so many years. And then, also I worked for Aiko Ishioka. I was her personal tailor as she designed Bram Stoker's Dracula, won an Oscar for that. She was such a legend. And she found this line of being, she was very demanding, but in a way that was so kind and respectful, and you wanted to do your very best job. And so I was, terrified to get it wrong, but she never, it's like, oh, this is wrong, this is how we fix this. And so I think I did like 5 prototypes on one thing I was making for her, but we finally got it right. But she was able to walk me through my mistakes or what she wanted in a very kind way. So I think having both Catherine and Baz and Aiko, and then another designer I worked for, Amala Baksik, I think all of them showed me what it was like to be a good boss. And so I just took all that with me.
I recently discovered a former employee of mine has credited me with like his career to coworkers at other publications, which is very sweet. And I only recently discovered from someone else, like, what, he's saying that? He told me that you put him into therapy.
Right.
I was like, both can be true.
Both can be true. Both can be true.
Both can be true. So you just wrapped up a project just a few months ago. Is that something you can talk about, or is it not announced yet? Or
it just got announced in Hollywood Reporter 2 days ago, recently, like last week, I think. It's called Widow. It's in like an action horror movie. And yeah, just wrapped in North Carolina. I literally made it back to LA the day before my Five Nights at Freddy's 2 premiere. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, and then I dove straight into press for this. So it's been a lot. I'm in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house right now, looking forward to like finally starting the holidays tomorrow. And but yeah, it's definitely been a great whirlwind, but a whirlwind nonetheless.
Well, and a whirlwind with a great red velvet suit at the
Oh,
premiere.
thank you. I'm so happy with how that turned out.
Gorgeous. And I love that like within 24 hours, that was your new IMDb photo.
I know, I was like, gonna update this. This is my new favorite photo of me.
Yeah, you are not sleeping on that at all.
No, it's like I haven't updated my website, but I sure did update my profile photo.
Well, I mean, that was really it. We're running out of time. And also, you were my last interview before the holidays. And so
Happy holidays.
Let's just go disappear and go watch Heated Rivalry all over again in preparation for the finale.
Over and over and over. I've seen episode 5 6 times. Can't wait to watch it again.
You know what? Maybe I should do a spin-off podcast where it's just me talking to craftspeople about Heated Rivalry.
Yes, I'd be your first guest, and I mean,
oh, honey, you'd be my co-host.
Yeah,
you would be my co-host, please.
I'm like, this week is not Christmas week. This is cottage week. I cannot wait to go to the cottage.
A gentleman acquaintance of mine DM'd me on Instagram in response to one of my Heated Rivalry posts and said, "I'm going to the cottage." I was like, I love you.
Woo!
I love you so much. Why do you live in New York?
I know, not fair. Not fair.
Not fair. All right. Well, enjoy your time off. Enjoy your childhood bedroom.
Thank you.
Congratulations on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's so fun, and it does a really remarkable job of not appeasing, that's a mean word, satisfying the fans, but also getting to put your own spin on it, which is one of the reasons I love watching your projects.
Thank you so much, Mark. I so appreciate it.
And happy holidays to all of you listening.